Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
We have Matt Pesch and Amy Scobee here with you tonight because Claire is being a very big SP. She's doing suppressive actions right now that are really important. So we're having a cover today with me and Matt. You're stuck with me and Matt, but we've got a lot of fun things to go over today. So we just wanted to take up some of the things that, based on survey, you guys wanted to hear about. So I'm going to add this here. Survey results showed people wanted to hear more personal stories of life inside the Sea Org. So that's interesting because there's a lot of topics that you also asked about too, and boy, we're gonna be recording for ages on covering all those, and some of them are big subjects that need their own video. But we have a fun couple of stories that we're going to cover with you, so we'll take those up. And I also want to know what questions you have, like put them in as super chats and questions that get starred, and we're going to take up every single one of those tonight too. So you've got our attention for the next couple of hours. We want to hear from you, and meantime we'll let you in on some interesting stories. So now starting out with Matt, my husband, doing a video entitled Scientology Cover-Ups. Now, this was put out a couple days ago, and it's in response to wanting to know about some more personal stories. So, Matt, tell them basically what that covers.
Well, I started off speaking about fake expansion of Scientology, and the fact that you have all these expensive buildings and huge buildings and ships and things like that actually kind of like look like Scientology is really expanding, but at the same time, it's statistically not expanding. And I go over the different statistics, and I go over quite a bit of information about different things like OT 9 and 10, how that was being sold.
And OT is operating Thetan, and OT 8 is currently the highest that you can do on the grade chart, which actually goes up to OT 15, but it's never, none of that stuff has ever been done. So they've been pre-selling OT 9 and 10, even though they've never been written up.
Exactly. They took millions of dollars for that.
Millions.
And, David Miscavige was kind of playing everybody along, telling the OT8s, well, if you do all these different setups and auditing and training, and you can get all the different cities, all the little organizations to go Ideal and St. Hill size, which is kind of like St. Hill was the
bustling, supposedly.
Yeah, for LRH back in the 60s over in England. Anyway, he got these people to get into all of that and spend all this money and all this time. And the whole time he knew there was no such thing as OT 9 and 10. And eventually he had to like kind of play everybody back and tell them, well, actually what happened is you guys never finished OT 7. Anyway, I explain all that in that video, and it's worth seeing. And then I kind of went into the different cover-ups of sexual attacks of, and I went into some specifics of, Sea Org members and adults, children. I went into the covering up of accidental deaths. I went into
this thing called the type 3 watch. Like when somebody, type 3 is basically psychosis, when somebody is apparently like has gone insane or whatever, and they've got all these steps that are really destructive on how to deal with those people. And he described one incident which people should have gone to prison for, really, honestly.
Yeah, well, the guy was actually held in a concrete hole in the complex, the Big Blue in Los Angeles, down in the basement in this big concrete box, and he was down there screaming. I explained all that and how that went, and how in Scientology, just like the Lisa McPherson, the handling where she died at the Fort Harrison, they would take people who had a psychotic break and lock them up against their will, hold them until they exhausted themselves, and then in most cases just kind of drive them and dump them on some relative's doorstep. And I covered that pretty good in that video. Also wanted to covering up robberies that were being done by a Sea Org member, which I think you'll find interesting. I went into about children in the rehabilitation project force, which is basically the labor camp for the Sea Org, where they go there to get to change their behavior and their thinking and all this kind of stuff.
Behavior modification camp.
Yeah, it's like North Korea, and they got to run everywhere, and they're not allowed to see their own children and spouse. And
don't go into it all again.
Yeah, I won't. But if you check out the video, I go into a lot of that stuff there.
Yeah. We want them to watch the video.
Yeah.
It's on my channel.
Yeah, and exploiting of children. I go into that whole thing, and it's worth saying. There's a lot of information now.
Yes. Good. Okay. So that was that one, right?
Yep.
Okay. So then one of the things that we're going to take up is officer training aboard the Free Winds. Okay. So now.
Did you do officer training on the Free Winds?
I didn't do officer training like you did.
Yeah.
But we were all sent, the staff members of the whole base, I think. At least the CMO international executives went. So we took myself, and I was in charge of a whole group of people that went to the Free Winds, and we spent 3 days so that we went through all of the different training programs. Like we got a tour through the bilges, and we experienced cleaning the bilges. We did a bunch of getting the lifeboat over the edge and getting into the boat and getting somewhere and back, and like all these kind of drills that we had to do for 3 days.
So you got a little taste of it.
I got some taste of it, and also not just a taste. Like we were supposed to spend a certain amount of time in each area and then move on and rotate. Except for my team was sent to the bilges.
Yeah.
And then the people who were out on the boats took too long, so I had 2 tours in the stupid bilges, and I didn't even get to go out on the boats.
It was kind of like a boot camp where they would send executives mainly to the Free Winds, and then you would be put through this whole. For me, it was about a 3-week boot camp. And you did a lot of training of different things, like how to lower the lifeboats, how to steer the ship, how to do knots, how to do cleaning on the exterior of the ship, and lower down on ropes and boards and things like that. And then the nasty stuff was doing the getting down into the underneath of the ship. Into the bilges.
Now, before you talk about the bilges, how'd you get physically onto the boat, onto the ship?
That was actually, I know what you're talking about, and that was actually separate from that. It was after I did all that training.
Yeah.
When I was the captain flag crew. This was like a few months after I got back from boot camp.
What's captain flag crew?
Okay.
People don't know.
Flag crew is the part of flag in Clearwater that takes care of all the restaurants, the transportation, the hotels, the maintenance. It's a crew of about 200 staff members, and I was in charge of that. So I was the captain of flag crew.
That's the job title.
Yeah. So what happened? What you're talking about is they were having this what they call the maiden voyage anniversary. So every year there'd be a big shindig on the Free Winds for all the people who had completed OT8, which is the level that they deliver on the Free Winds. And so all those people were expected to go back to the Free Winds, so Miscavige could talk to them and set them up to help him expand Scientology and make more money and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, at the last minute, I was told that I had to rush to the airport. Somebody was going to rush me to the airport, and I had to go to the Free Winds, but the Free Winds was really out at sea. So run to the airport. I get flown to the Caribbean. I get put on a tugboat with these 2 guys that didn't even speak English. And we go out to sea to catch up with the Free Winds, which is apparently waiting for us out there. It was a rough day. The waves are going up and down. And they lower this rope ladder, it's like 2 little ropes with these little boards that are about 2.5 inches wide that are spaced like a ladder, but they sit right up against the ship. There's no place to even put your foot through. And the boat's going up, the ship's going up and down, this huge ship, and this little tugboat is going up and down. And I have to time it so I don't get squashed between the 2 the two boats, that when the tugboat is at its highest point against the free ones, I'm supposed to jump, get onto this little ladder thing, and climb up like 3 stories, 4 stories up the side of the free ones. It was crazy. And so I did that because Miscavige wanted me to be there and work on all the different service lines. It was some crazy idea.
As
But
like
anyway,
a training or something?
yeah. So
And so you couldn't just wait until they got to a dock somewhere? I
no,
mean, come on. That'd be a 007 in order to get up there. If it was me, what would I done? I would have like
yeah,
drowned.
yeah.
I don't know.
Never would have got to do it. Most people wouldn't have been able to do it. I was lucky that I didn't get hurt doing it, to tell the truth.
Yeah, that's completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, so now here's the where the bilges are on the ship. So you can see this where there's a sludge tank and a bilge tank at the bottom of a vessel. And it's where oily sludge water goes through. And it gets really, really dirty. Take my word for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also we would do that, clean those underneath of all that, the pipes and all that stuff. They pulled a steel plate out of the floor in the engine room, and then you crawl underneath it. There's about, just a couple of feet there, and there's all these hot pipes, and it's because you're at sea, everything's moving. It's really hot underneath there, like really hot, and it's really loud. Those engines are so loud that when you're down there,
there's no air either. It just feels like
you have to really scream to somebody who's 3 feet away for them to hear you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're crawling through all of that with rags, trying to clean up all the oil down there, and you're covered with oil. You're physically covered with oil by the end of the day, and you have to clean yourself with fuel and diesel fuel. So you're scrubbing yourself with that, getting all this oil off. Then you got to go take a shower with strong detergent, and it's a nasty day, I tell you, crawling through there. The other thing, we were doing the regular tanks, like under the refrigerators and the freezers and all that stuff, where there'd be water in there. And I remember myself and this girl named Letty. She was this pretty little blonde girl that used to be receptionist at the Fort Harrison for years.
Petite, very like petite, skinny, long blonde hair. She looked like a little Barbie doll.
Yeah. And we're supposed to go down into one of these bilges that's underneath the freezers and get all the water and sludge out of there and, have it totally clean. So we get lower down into this bilge and it's dark. It gets just a little bit of light coming through the opening that we crawl down through. And we have buckets being lowered down to us on rope, and we fill them up with the sludge water, and then they get pulled out. Well, while that's happening, we're doing that, they finally get an extension cord set up with a lamp on it, and they drop the light down to us. And at that point, we can see that all that water that we've been standing in and putting into buckets and all that kind of stuff is filled with little maggots. The place is alive with white maggots. And Letty sees that, and she throws up into the water that we're in. So I'm like, oh, great. So now we gotta scoop out all this disgusting water with
maggots.
Yeah, and now I got all this maggot water we have to clean up, and now I have the fact that she's throwing up in it because she's so disgusted.
Must have smelled really great down there.
Oh, it was a great day.
And how long did you have to stay down there?
I mean, we spent I guess at least a week cleaning those bilges, and
I mean that's the place where David Miscavige would send people like Mike. I mean, Mike Rinder probably spent, I don't know, months in that place. But he would send the executives that he would come to do the maiden voyage events with. Every time he was displeased, he would send them to the bilges, and they'd get head to toe covered in grease and grime. And, I'm sure David Miscavige, I'd love for him to go and do that. Mm-hmm. That would be fun.
So that was part of the this little boot camp routine.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is that I was worried about getting killed on this program because the girls and guys that I'm doing it with, a lot of them really have no experience. They're young. They have no experience with doing things that are mechanical and dangerous and stuff. And I'll give you an example. We all get into a lifeboat. There's about 20 of us. And somebody from the Free Winds is kind of showing us all the different parts of the Free Winds, what they're called, and how do you lower, step by step, how do you lower a life raft? And we're like, 40, 50 feet off the water. and he points to one thing about, I think it was called a pelican pin or something, which is the final thing that you pull to release the lifeboat from
Oh.
the whole contraption that's holding you in the air. And this one girl, Marie, as he's saying this, he's saying, and you pull the pelican pin, and she reaches up and grabs this pin. She goes, "Pull it now!" And I'm like, "Holy crap, man!" I'm looking at where I'm going to jump off this stupid lifeboat to try to survive if she pulls that stupid pin. Oh man.
Didn't somebody also have to like be hanging off the side doing pinholing?
Yeah, I mean,
Huh.
oh yeah, okay. So the way we're going to go over the side of the ship, it was at the dock at the time. So if you went off on the one side, you were like 40, 50 feet above the water. And if you went on the dock side, you were above the concrete dock. So what we were doing is there would be two ropes that would be about, I don't know, at least an inch thick. And they would be tied either end of a big plank. It would be like an 8-foot long plank by 2 inches thick by 12 inches wide. It'd be a rope on either end. And so you'd swing yourself over on top of the plank while it was up high. And then you would hold on to like one side of it, the rope, and then they would untie the rope on the other end, lower it down a couple of feet, secure it, and then you would go to that side, so they would kind of like work it back and forth. So they're slowly, dropping you and that plank down further and further down the ship.
You just have a plank, right? That's it.
You have a plank. There's no safety harness on you or anything like that. You're on this plank, suspended in the air. Well, when we first started, I said, okay, I'm going to be first. I'm going to go over the side and do this thing, right? So they said, we'll get, it's all set up, so go ahead and do it. And I'm thinking, let me just check what these idiots got this thing tied off to, right? They literally had it tied off to this little 1/2-inch piece of conduit that was running along the side of the ship that was like, running a couple of wires to some lamps on the side of the boat or something. I mean, this thing, I got these big, thick ropes tied to this little 1/2-inch, metal tubing. And I'm like, oh, you guys kidding? That would have killed me. I would have stepped on that thing. I would have ripped that little piece of crap off the ship and fell 40, 50 feet. So I was really worried about these guys, working with them when they had so little, skill in this kind of area.
That is the thing about the Sea Org, by the way, is it's always make it go right, because somewhere on your time track, your whole track, you've got the experience, you've done all this before, so make it go right and just do it. And we'll talk about that a little bit later too on renovations, because I was doing high voltage renovations. I'm not a trained electrician. I got stories. And but yeah, and some things didn't work out quite as like we thought they would, because we're just a bunch of rookies winging it, and without professionals, because we don't want to spend money on professionals, because you're Sea Org members, you're operating thetans capable of doing anything.
But check this out.
Yeah.
As far as just one little story, we have this guy that's working with us. His name was Marcus Carino. Rest in peace. He actually died a few years ago from a heart attack and left family behind, which is sad. But he was a really good guy. And anyway, we lowered him all the way down the side of the ship. It's at night, and we have a big spotlight on him, and he's doing. He's got a scraper, and he's scraping the side of the ship, and he's about 2 feet above the water.
And now this is nighttime?
Nighttime.
Okay, so that they're having somebody scrape the side of the ship at night. This is how insane they are, because things have to get done now. If there's a target, your head doesn't hit the pillow until it's done. So here he is at night scraping stupid sides of the ship.
Yep, and we're at port, and we're in the Caribbean, and I say to Marcus, I said, be careful down there, because that big strong light is going to attract sharks. And he's like, well, and I said, yeah, that spotlight's going to attract sharks, right? So he's all kind of nervous and looking all the time to see if there's any sharks coming up to where he is. So he's just a little bit off the water. So I went, and I got this big bolt.
You are so bad. This is
I flip it on down there. It splashes next to him. He drops his scraper into the ocean. He's hugging onto that rope. Anyway, we would definitely goof on each other, and that was one of the things we goofed on. So
yeah, it's made him paranoid in the water. He does stuff like that to me all the time. This is how he gets his kicks growing up in New York. They have the crudest jokes and pranks. The pranks that he would do as a kid, it's like he should tell you about those sometime. But yeah, okay. So then what else did you do on the officer training?
Oh boy. You were just doing fire drills. You're doing drills on how to go from your bunk to your lifeboat, which would be like a couple of stories away, and you'd be timed, and then eventually you would be timed blindfolded. Like we were able to all jump out of our beds blindfolded, run through the ship, and stand at attention that a lifeboat's ready to go. That was part of the drilling.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of drills on how to fight fires and what do you do if somebody falls overboard?
Readiness
Yeah.
at the sea,
Yeah. So we did a lot of that kind of drills. And I can tell you, we did a lot of running around. And because it was a boot camp, like you might be told, okay, everybody's got to run all over the ship and touch all the life rings on the outside of the ship, so and it's hot and you got life preservers on and you do the whole thing. And then, one person stopped 10 feet before where they were supposed to stop. Now everybody's got to redo it, so it's kind of, getting you to get the idea that you're a team, you're a group. One person screws up, everybody, gets punished. So you go through that whole thing. I literally lost 20 pounds on that little boot camp.
Did you?
Yeah. And some of the other guys lost a lot of weight too. We were mostly just eating like chicken and fruit, and you don't have any snacks or anything. You're like on the schedule of the boot camp. You don't have any opportunity to eat something additional to what they feed you. And we're hungry, and a lot of it sweating underneath the floorboards of the engine room and things like that. So yeah, but anyway, we were able to complete that, and then we all got sent to Los Angeles to do all the administrative training that they do there, and we got through that in a few weeks, and then went back to our organizations to run them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, another point that we wanted to talk about was uniforming Sea Org members at the Flag Land Base. So anybody who has come to the Flag Land Base sees Sea Org members running around. Okay. And it changes over the years, the different things, but some...
Well, let me
hold on.
Don't get right into that part of the craziness. Let me build up to it a little bit. The uniforms changed quite a bit over the years. Like when I first got the flag, all you had to do is have a pair of dark navy blue pants, dark shoes, light shirt, and the Sea Org is supposed to supply you uniforms, but somehow they never do because they can never get the money approved. And so what happens is the staff members, they used to do this department store called Mars Brothers down there in Clearwater.
I remember
and
that.
During dinner time, you would see all the Sea Org members in there buying shoes, buying shirts, buying
I got
pants.
shirts there.
Yeah, everybody did. And they knew that all the Sea Org members, hundreds of Sea Org members were going to buy all their clothes there. So they stocked all the things that we would need. So anyway, we went through that routine, and then they switched it over to wearing these white kind of Navy uniforms. And it was very unpopular with the non-Scientology public. Yeah,
there's Matt in his white Navy uniforms.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stories with that too, which we're going to tell.
Yep. One Saturday, there was supposed to be a survey done of just the general public, non-Scientology public in Clearwater to see what they thought about these uniforms. And I volunteered to help do the survey. You just put your regular clothes on, your jeans and a t-shirt, and you have a clipboard, and you go ask these survey questions. And the first person I asked was this woman. She's about 70 years old. She's from Clearwater and a non-Scientologist. And I said, what do you think about these uniforms that you see the Sea Org members, the Scientologists wearing? And the 70-year-old woman, she goes, every time I drive through downtown Clearwater and I see one of those guys wearing that uniform, I want to stop my car, get out, and punch them in the face. I'm like, yeah, for real. And that's how that survey went. These people hated the fact that their downtown Clearwater was being taken over by all these people dressing up like they were in the Navy or something.
Yeah.
They didn't like it. So then there was an effort, by management to now, okay, we got to switch these uniforms, right? We got to get something that's more appropriate. So they went from crazy to super crazy, which is kind of the way the Sea Org goes. They had this.
This was David Miscavige's idea, by the way.
Yeah. So David Miscavige comes up with this nutty idea of in Scientology, you have all these different divisions, you know, and each division,
7 divisions.
7 divisions, and each division has a color flash that goes with it. Some are pink, some are violet, some are canary yellow.
So let's go like this.
Yeah.
So it's a color flash so that you can tell. You write your dispatches on certain colored paper, so you can tell if it's blue, it's from the executive division and it gets priority attention. If it's goldenrod, it's from the HCO, which is the Hubbard Communications Office. So that's either ethics, communication, personnel. Then it's Division 2, which was kind of like purple.
Yeah,
and
a little violet color,
like violet. And then Division 2 was the registration.
Division 3, yeah, was pink.
No, that was Division 2, and then Division 3 was pink, and then Division 4, which is the production division, that was green, and then Division 5, which is the qualifications division. I can't remember. I did so many organization charts when I was in there. No, 5 is qualifications, it's gray. And then 6 is light yellow, and that's the public divisions, out facing canary yellow. Okay, so you'll see that on the outside of the volumes. You'll see that, you know, everywhere. And so now David Miscavige said that he wanted people uniformed by color flash.
And the uniform is going to be a full suit. I mean, so like, listen, if your color flash is canary yellow, you have yellow pants, you have yellow shirt, and you have a canary yellow suit jacket. And you know, like, how does that stand out in the middle of Clearwater, Florida? But it's not. If you just had one person wearing that, or a pink, you know, outfit, or a violet outfit, it would be, you know, you'd think he was probably a pimp or something like that, and, you know, you would just go by that. But you got to understand, at that time, where the crew ate wasn't under the Superpower building like it is now. It was a building down the street, and people would come out of the Fort Harrison and the Sandcastle, and they would literally walk to the dining room and back. So
by the hundreds.
By the hundreds. So you might see 20 people waiting across the street in pink suits, and then, you know, another 80 people in canary yellow, and then you know, it looked so friggin' ridiculous.
And Matt was in charge of Treasury, and that was pink. So he had a pink blazer and pink pants
and pink jacket.
Yeah.
But all the uniforms were made down in Colombia. And before, there was like a middleman company, and before the money would be transferred to the company down there and the uniforms would be shipped, I needed to go down to Colombia and verify that these uniforms were made and they were okay, and just kind of check the whole thing out. So I fly down to Colombia, and I go to this sweatshop down there where they got all these women just making these uniforms, making these pink clothing and purple clothing and green. And
it wasn't like hunter green or something. It was neon green.
Yeah, it was bad. And when I arrived, the first thing the guy did was start apologizing about the colors of the uniforms. And he says, you know, this is what they asked. He starts apologizing. This is what they asked. He didn't even want to show me. This is what they asked me to make. You know, this is blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, fine, you know. And of course, he did a great job of what he was asked to do. He made all these crazy looking suits and stuff. And we wound up getting that for the crew. But you got to realize the insanity of it is that, you know, Sea Org members move around a lot from division to division, right?
And they also have all the time.
Yeah, and you have all different sized people. So these uniforms, it wasn't like we had the 7 zillion extra ones. It was basically enough with a tiny bit of extra for each division. So the people get their little uniform. How do you get a new pink suit if somebody else comes into the division, or some, you know, really big person or a really small person? It was just the most ridiculous thing you'd ever seen. And I mean, people were down, they only were given like 2 shirts, and you're wearing them from morning to night, and they start wearing out in their long sleeves. Everything's long sleeves. And then the people were putting patches in the elbows, and they would be down to 1 shirt. And, you know, what do? They got to wash that. People were just hand washing their shirts at night and then hanging them up. And then by the morning, it would be like damp, and then it would take the iron and iron out and steam out the last of the moisture in it. If you, we're going to do your laundry, just as a concept, just listen to this. You got the apartment complex, Hacienda apartment complex. You got maybe 400 or 500 Sea Org members living there. There is a total of 10 washing machines, 10 dryers. They're also coin operated, which means that the Sea Org members are given their whatever little pay they got. They're giving part of it right back to the organization for doing their own laundry. But everybody's on the same schedule. Nobody's there during the daytime to do the laundry. It's so you got just the nighttime of doing your laundry with these machines. So you have to wake up in the middle of the night and try to get your laundry done, and you have to watch your laundry because somebody's going to steal your stupid shirt or something because they have to have that shirt to go to the job. And in Sea Org, it's always like make it go right. You say, well, I got to go on the roof and I have a ladder. Well, swing off the tree or something. It's like make it go right. You can't give the problem back. So people like make it go right. They're stealing your freaking clothes. So you got to watch your laundry. I mean, this is the kind of insanity that goes on in that place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, that's when you talk about uniforms. I mean, you've had nightmares over the years about your uniform, right? Not having a uniform.
I have these really weird dreams that, in fact, I even had one last night. But I'm always missing a uniform part. And that's because it was always a problem. It was always a problem because you never slept. So you didn't have time to do your laundry. And, maybe you left it in the laundry room or whatever. And there's a lot of pieces to your uniform because you have pants, you've got epaulets, you got their shoulder bars, you got
vest,
your tie, whatever. Anyway, and I always somehow have to be at a muster and don't have my stupid uniform parts.
And you're toast if you should show up without a uniform.
You get expected. Like a lot of times we would do as part of the muster, everybody muster up, line up in your divisions, turn and face the person opposite you, uniform inspection. If anyone flunks, they get a report written on them. If they get 5 reports, then they get a justice action. So, I mean, it's pretty disciplined.
Yeah. And I can tell you,
not in a
you
good
wear
way.
shoes. I mean, the Sea Org members, they can't afford to buy black leather shoes or whatever we're wearing because they cost over $100. So they would go and get, from one of these cheap shoe stores, the plastic ones, which you can get for like $15. But now you're wearing plastic shoes down in Florida with that kind of humidity, and you're wearing them all day long, every day. And I can tell you, people have nasty problems with their feet. The other thing is when it would wear through the bottom of their shoes, a lot of those Sea Org members had pieces of cardboard stuffed in their shoes so that, to handle the fact that they had holes all the way through. So, I mean, the place is making $2 million and the staff can't be given clothing to wear.
Yeah, at the Flag Land Base.
At the Flag Land Base,
yeah.
the richest part of Scientology.
Yeah.
So that's because that money doesn't go, just so you know, if $2 million is made by at Flag, that money never goes into the Flag Service Organization's bank account. It all goes straight to a bank account that's controlled by international management. And then international management decides if it wants to give a little piece of that money back to the organization to run on. And if we made $2 million, we might be giving back $300,000, of which per policy, half of that's going to be spent on printing and sending out promotional items. So by the time it all gets broken down and stuff, there's no money for medical, there's no money for uniforms, these kind of things, and it's because it's all sucked up and sent up, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's crazy. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was Saturday All Hands, because at the international base, every single Saturday, every crew member, it didn't matter what your job was, except for Scobee, David Miscavige never participated, but everyone was assigned to a team for Saturday All Hands, and everyone would participate in upgrades of the base or renovations or construction. And for that property, it was massive because obviously it's over 500 acres, and there's a lot of buildings on that property. And there, when we first got there, it was an old resort, and it had to be completely redone. And so we were building and building and building. And there's a lot of stories with the Saturday All Hands. Now, one of the things that I'll get to your story in a second. One of the things the Sea Org has is what's called a WQSB, and that's Watch Quarter Station Bill. And watch is what watch are you on, port or starboard. Your quarter, where do you live? Your station, meaning what your job is, and the bill, which shows it. So every person's name is listed on the whole property with all those specifics. And you have your assigned job, like let's say I was the Watchdog Committee member for Celebrity Center, but I was on the WQSB, the Watch Quarter Station Bill, as an electrician. So if there was an electrical emergency and the sirens went off, which happened all the time on that stupid property, do you remember that? I mean, they always were going off. I would drop whatever I was doing and run down to the electrical room with the whole rest of the team from all kinds of different places and organizations. And we would all meet there and then disperse out to the different stations to handle the electrical emergency. Anyway, so I'm telling you about the WQSB because there's huge boards that have all this information on it. It's called the WQSB board. And it was located at building 50. No, building 36. Building 36 is the Golden Era Studios building that we were renovating. And I was on the rehabilitation project force. And this board was so gigantic. It was like 8 feet tall by 20 feet long. And it was put up on this wall that we were renovating. And the whole organization chart, you know, with all those color flashes we were just talking about, was on one side of the wall. And on the other side was the WQSB board. And when David Miscavige came to inspect the renovations and the progress that had been made in this area, he was really pissed because he didn't give personal authorization that the boards get put up yet. So he said, take down those boards. Now realize putting them up created holes the size of golf balls or even larger, like footballs in the walls. Take them down and repair the walls. And if I can tell where any hole was, then I'm going to take a sledgehammer to this entire place. So it was assigned to me to do a miracle mud activity, mudding activity, fix all whatever I could do in order to make those walls perfect. Okay, when we took down those boards, I swear, I mean, I could have put windows where the holes were. Anyway, but I fixed them and I painted that thing and I feathered it out like a mile and whatever and painted it. And he came down and he had a floodlight and he was like looking at it. And I knew that I was just going to go to the RPF or whatever, because he's going to find something because he's an ass. But anyway, he said it was perfect, which is good. But then all we did was put the stupid boards back up. So
he would do stupid things like that, just to, like, I don't know, show how superior he was to everybody. He's got
to approve everything, including now you can put the board up or something. I mean, why inspect the wall behind the board? It's not going to be seen, you jerk.
He's just pulling everybody's chain.
Yeah.
For no reason.
No reason. Well, anyway, it kept me busy for I think I had 48 hours to have it perfect or something like that. Yeah. But anyway, so I didn't sleep, of course, you know, and then trying to get it to dry. And so it doesn't crack when it dries. Oh my God. And then taking floodlights in every single direction to make sure that you can't see a single thing.
The insanity.
It is the insanity. But so Saturday All Hands, I got stories, but he got stories. Go ahead.
Well, for a while, I mean, you got to figure this, like 750 people all show up on a Saturday morning and they all need to be put to work for the entire day. So I would work during
What was your job?
I was working in the estates area, and my job was to write project orders, like step by step, for every one of those teams that were going to work on that Saturday, and to make sure all the materials were there for them to do it, and then to help supervise it. So I'm got to make sure that I'm getting 750 people to do productive work for the entire day. And, you know, there's a lot of work goes into that to set up that whole thing and to run it and get the logistics all put there and the tools and all that stuff. Anyway, it's a Friday and it's getting like late afternoon, and the order comes down that David Miscavige just said that he wants a sprinkler system put in for the entire base tomorrow.
On Saturday.
On Saturday, yeah. So like I got like 12 hours now before everybody's going to show up.
A sprinkler system for what?
For the grounds, like around all the buildings,
all the buildings.
Yes, the entire base. Yes, it's huge. Right?
What?
Yeah. So this is, I don't know. Sometimes I think he just threw these things my direction just to see if I could do these things, right? Just I don't know. So it's an insane thing to give somebody. It's impossible.
Then you get the money through. You're going to get the logistics all there. Get a team assigned that even knows what they're doing.
So you know what I did?
No.
There was a sprinkler supply company in town, and I got the guy to agree to basically give out all his stuff. He would like hand it out. We put it in these big trucks and take it away, and he would like sign out what he gave us. And I said, what'll happen is when I come back and bring what I didn't use, then we compare what you gave me to what I brought back, and then I owe you for that, right? So he agreed to that. I mean, we basically emptied his store into trucks and brought it to the base. So now I got to I need tools. And usually when you dig trenches for piping and stuff for sprinklers, you have these really skinny shovels. Well, we didn't have money for that. We didn't have time to find these little skinny shovels, but we had a ton of regular shovels on the base that were there for fighting fires. So me and Chris Byrne, we took all those shovels into the garage and used an oxyacetylene torch and cut all them down to skinny shovels so that we could eventually replace them with the bigger shovels. And we would just do it that way, right? And then we took chalk and dust inside of like a can on a stick with holes in the bottom. And we walked out where all the sprinkler piping would have to be put into the ground. And we laid out all the different piping and stuff like that for the whole job. And so I had all that going, but I still needed the money for it, right? So I put this whole submission together and I brought it to the international finance director. And she was married to Jesse Prince at the time. She was married to one of the highest people in RTC. This lady was like the top finance person, and she's really a nasty lady. So she's in her office.
She was able to say no.
Oh, she would fight you in the street for it. I mean,
she was like that. She was a bulldog.
Yeah, she was a bulldog, right?
That's why they put her in charge of finance.
Exactly. So yeah. So I go ahead and I bring her up this financial submission that I need for all this materials and stuff. And she's like, doesn't want to really know about it, this and that. So she's in the office, and it's like it's got a glass door on it, and she's got a big desk in there. And I put the submission on her desk, and she goes home without touching that submission. Now I'm going to be fully responsible for the financial occurrence of all this stuff that I'm trying to get done. So I'm like,
oh yeah, because there's a policy in Scientology called purchasing liability of staff. Yeah. And what that says is that if you don't have an approved purchase order and you buy something, you buy it. So now that's what he's going to get. How much was that?
I don't remember. It was considerable. It was quite a bit. And so she decided, no, she wasn't going to look at my submission. I was going to be screwed. And she went off to go to bed, where the RTC, the highest executives, Miscavige and his whole team, Religious Technology Center, they live in the upper villas. Uh-huh. I kicked the window out of her door. I kicked the glass out of it. I did. I was so pissed. I opened that door. I went into her office. I got that submission, and I headed to her room. I knocked on that door. We're having a screaming match in the parking lot, and I mean, I got Miscavige sleeping like 2 rooms down, and all this. Her husband is one of the highest executives, and we're having a screaming match in the middle of the night in the parking lot. Anyway, I get her to sign this stuff. Believe it or not. So then I get the whole job done. We get the sprinkler system thing in and stuff like that. But the next day, I need these checks signed. Right? They write the checks, but I need the signatories to sign it. There's 2 people that could sign it on the base. And I get the first guy to sign it, and I look out the window and I see the other person is driving away. And I'm like, where's that guy going? He's he's going to Los Angeles to go do something for a few days. And I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna be screwed. I need this check when I bring back what's left over the materials. I need this check. So yeah, I put the guy's, I took my little pen and I put that guy's name on that check, man. Make it go right.
Yeah,
So,
that's one of Scientology's songs. Make it go right. That is the way. Make it go right and win the day.
so I made it go right down to falsifying the check. And so the guy got paid, the sprinkler system got put in, and the whole thing got done. And I pulled off one more time a miracle. And that was my little story from that.
That's good. Okay, so all hands. So one of the things that people ask about is you didn't know the trades. So tell them what you would do because of that, you know? Like we would come down and get assigned something. Like I had to do high voltage. And here's the other thing. I can't disrupt production. So we can't turn off the power. So one time, I'll tell this story.
Yeah.
The
insanity up there is amazing.
Don't ever interrupt production, right? So the power has to stay on, and we have to ground the electrical panel to a certain building that housed a production unit for all the cameras and stuff like that, film and editing and all that. And so we had to ground the panel for that. And so what we did was, okay, so it was me and one other person named Walter. And we had a long grounding cable, which is just bare cable, thick, about this big. And he had one end, and he is taking it to a grounding rod that's underneath the house. And it's called Cadwell. He has to solder it basically with this big thing so that it gets soldered onto the ground rod that's 10 feet, 20 feet down into the ground so that the thing is grounded. And I've got the other end, and the other end that I have needs to go into the panel live. Okay, so the panel's on a wall, and then there's like a gully right around that area. It goes way down, and then there's the ground. So you have to take your ladder and lay it like kind of like this onto the wall in order to get over there and reach the cable. So I'm holding on to this cable, and I'm trying to walk up this ladder, which was very precarious, and it fell forward. And so did I. And luckily, I hit the bus bar of the panel, which is where all the electrical juice is going, with the cable, but I had just let go. So it hit that bus bar and exploded, and made a big hole in that bus bar. And all of the electrical went whipping down to the other end of the cable underneath the house, that Walter is on his stomach sliding under the house, sliding on his stomach to get to where he's got to put this thing. He's holding onto the cable, and it will whop like this, and he gets electrocuted. It just shocked the hell out of him. And I could hear him yell, "Amy!" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "Take an effing laugh. Take a big laugh," because we were in the RPF and the Rehabilitation Project Force. Oh yeah, they also have RPFers doing this high voltage stuff. We did anyway.
In the RPF, they have a thing where, like, if you do something wrong, or if you don't do something in the time, like a lot of times you're told in the next 15 minutes you have to get blah 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 done, and if you fail to get it done in the next 15 minutes, then you take a lap. It's part of
it's called rocks and shoals. You get punished. It's instant punishment. So that if let's say you backflash, you talk back to your senior, they can say, give me 10 push-ups, you know, or if you don't meet your, they said, get this wired up by, you know, in 5 minutes. So 5 minutes later, I'm not done. Okay, take a lap, which is running around the building once. Take a big lap is like a long, you're off for like a mile. At the Fort Harrison, the big lap was you had to run up all the in the back staircase all the way to the 11th floor and back.
Yeah.
I had to do that several times.
Stairwell, yeah, where it's real hot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Eventually, what happened was because there was so much wasted time sending these people on these laps that I know at the international base, we would just go, okay, just give me 10 push-ups. So the person could just drop down, bang out 10 push-ups, and then get back to work rather than go run around the base or something stupid, right? And waste time. We didn't have time for that once we weren't even sleeping. We don't, you know. So we're trying to stick with what you're supposed to do in the program, but you know, but change it so that also you can get some work done. But yeah, I mean, I remember people at Flag on the RPF that were doing these long laps up the whole building, and you had heavy set people, and their friggin' legs swelled up so much they couldn't friggin' walk anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just really, really gross. So that was just one of the stories of, I mean, Walter, he got electrocuted so many times. We were on the electrical team together. One time we were wiring stuff up in an attic, and he was laying on a metal, it was like like a metal sheet that was up there. He was laying on it and wiring up something live because we can't, you know, disrupt production. And the cable came and landed on the on the actual sheet that he was laying on. And so his entire body was being electrocuted and he couldn't move. He couldn't like take it off because it actually kind of paralyzes you as you're convulsing with this thing.
Man, remind me not to do electrical with you.
It wasn't with me.
Oh, okay, good.
It was Walter.
Oh, okay.
Well, that first one was me. But anyway, another time with Walter was we were doing, I think it was grounding a big outdoor transformer, and he like bent forward too far, and the arc came and went like a sledgehammer on his head. And another time, I was there for that one, and another time he was up in a tree, and the tree crossed electrical lines and high voltage, and he was like, he got blinded for about 3 days on that, got taken to the hospital because he got electrocuted up there. But I'm just saying that there's all kinds of examples. I got electrocuted. I'm up on like a 30-foot ladder doing some electrical thing, and anyway, it doesn't feel good.
I got one.
What?
I'm in the RPF in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And we're, you know, they got the organization that does all the computerization and stuff. And we're wiring that place up with all these major cables and major electric. And they have a separate room at the back of Big Blue that's for the batteries that are the backup for that whole organization. So that if we lose power at the complex, the batteries take over to make sure those computers can keep on running. So one early morning, me and two other guys were into this battery room. These batteries aren't just like car batteries. These are huge, big batteries. And we're supposed to wire these up, you know, in sequence all together, like connect them all together. And we had just started and we weren't really grooved in with each other yet. And one of the cables was being passed and it touched one of the batteries and shorted out. It caused an explosion. It sent molten metal embedded into the sheetrock wall of that battery room, filled the room with smoke. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got, you know, but it scared the crap out of us, right? We go running out of that room and we're outside and I said, man, I'm gonna go do something safe, you know, like maybe go back to, you know, sweeping sidewalks, right, you know, like 30 feet away which we would do every morning in the RPF. And I said, actually, you know, if you know, something like that's going to happen, a car could jump the curb and hit a telephone pole and drop high voltage wire on you or something. We're just talking like that. I'm telling you, like 3 minutes later, a car jumps the sidewalk, hits the telephone pole that's like 50 feet from where I was, drops a high voltage cable down, and this thing's bouncing on the sidewalk, you know, sparking and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, be careful what you say.
Yeah, remind me not to work with you.
So
yeah, careful what you say. Oh my God. Well, that works in positive ways too, because yeah, he can say some stuff and then it'll happen. It's crazy. And also, I mean, we've got lots of examples of that, but it's kind of off topic because it's
yeah,
not Scientology related.
yeah.
But well, you tell them about that story about
What mission?
the mission that you got assigned to do on the int base. I just don't want to say all of it.
Oh, to find that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
listen to this story.
All right. So
This is interesting.
L. Ron Hubbard had handwritten this whole program on what to do if, like, society kind of caved in and financially like hit the skids, and people started like going around, to do riots and just take whatever they wanted and all this kind of stuff. So there was this whole survival program, and it had to do with buying weapons, and it had to do with stockpiling food and fuel and making friends with the farmers, and there was this whole program. Well, um, it was a time when we thought the FBI was going to raid the base, and a lot of things were happening to get rid of files and secretive documents and stuff like that. And OSA, the Office of Special Affairs, the legal, uh, wing of
Branch.
Scientology, was saying there's FBI agents that, just a few miles from here in town, and it's likely that they're gonna storm the base. So this guy named Colin, he was told to take these handwritten documents from L. Ron Hubbard and bring them out on the golf course someplace and bury them so that the FBI wouldn't get a hold of them. And it was during a storm. It was like, rain real hard and blowing. It was a big storm in the middle of the night. And so Colin goes out there and he does this. All right. So now they didn't raid, and it was some months later, and somebody remembered that Colin had gone out there and buried this stuff. And by now, Colin was no longer in the Sea Org, but he was living in Los Angeles. And they sent what's called a mission. It's like a project to go find these documents. So this mission goes out, and
Tell them what a mission is.
a mission is basically you have specific step-by-step orders on what you're supposed to do to accomplish a specific goal. And it's a big deal if
Yeah.
if you fail to do it, if you screw it up, or you don't get the mission accomplished, then you can go to the rehabilitation project force, the prison camp, for failing to be successful.
Yeah, and a mission, like if I have a general post, but if I'm sent on a mission, it could be on any subject or anywhere. You're trained as a missionaire. Like I was a second class missionaire, and if you can become a first class missionaire if you do a ton of training. Anyway, so the in charge always has to be a second class minimum. And so you get a mission ice in charge, and then they get people underneath them, and that mission gets fully briefed on what their mission impossible is. And then the person in action runs them on these orders.
Action is a division that's in charge of running missions.
Yeah, it's the mission running area. Yeah, so you were sent on a mission.
All right. So right? First, somebody else was sent on the mission to find these documents. And they're out there on the golf course. They brought Colin back to the base, even though he wasn't in the Sea Org anymore. They brought him back, and they're trying to utilize him to remember where he might have put these documents. And they got people digging out there using backhoes and shovels and lights at night. And I mean, they really went to town for like a couple of weeks trying to find it, and they never found these documents. So that mission gets what they call recalled, which means like they're in deep crap. They didn't accomplish what they were sent to do. So then they come and tell me, I'm going to do now I'm going to be put on a mission to do what they couldn't do. Right. And I'm like, oh, goody, So if I fail to do it, I'm going to wind up probably in the RPF like them. So anyway, I go out there and I go through the same thing. I bring Colin back, and, what you're doing and thinking, and what do you remember, and we're digging, and we got the lights, and we're doing the same thing for a couple of weeks, right? Finally, we're working through the night. We're not getting any sleep, and I'm like, okay, forget it. We can't find this thing. I don't know what the hell happened to all these documents he buried, but we can't find it. So the sun was just like starting to come up, and I secured the other guys that work with me. I told them to go to bed, and I went to the room where the person who was running the mission was sleeping, this guy named Ted. And I knock on his door and I wake him up and he's like half asleep. And I say, hey, Dad, I give up, right? I can't find this stuff. And he says something that didn't make any sense, which was this. He says, listen, I'll tell you what. He says, you go back by yourself. You take one more look around and see if you can find it. And if you can't find it, okay, fine. We'll cancel the mission and count it as a failure. But he says, if you do find it, I'll give you an affluence on this mission. Or power mission.
You get power.
Yeah, it's like a big deal. Like you can assign that this was a power mission, and you get this dagger and all this kind of stuff.
When you get assigned a power mission, you get awarded this dagger to wear on your uniform. You get your ethics folders cleared. You get a commendation, and you get a bonus.
Yeah. So it was like a big carrot there, and I was young, and this all was pretty exciting for me. So I'm like, I mean, it's a stupid thing that he's saying to me. Like after all this time, I'm going to go back by myself and find the stupid thing. But
in the middle of the night?
No, it was the sun was just coming up.
Oh yeah, okay.
So okay, all right, I'll give it a shot. Right? What am I going to do? I'm not going to argue with them. And so I go back out on the golf course, and it's a real quiet morning, and the fog is starting to lift, and I just stood there and I thought, where the hell would I put this? Forget everything I've been told. Just scrap all that stuff. Where the heck would I put it? And I looked off where there was a concrete slab. And I thought, I would probably put it by that concrete slab because at least you could have something to find it against, with all the field and all the stuff out there. So I grabbed the shovel and I walked over there. And I put the shovel in the ground, and within 1 or 2 scoops, I see the corner of this plastic, and bam! I found it. I go running back to Ted's room. I mean, it was just like less than 10 minutes later. I'm back at his door with this bag with all the information and stuff like that. And yeah, I found it that way, and I had a successful mission.
Did you get a dagger?
No, they stuck. They didn't. But what I did was I got that dagger some other way. You know how I am, but I deserve that friggin' dagger. So I went and I got a dagger from somewhere, the dagger without being given to me. And I took my ethics folders and I shredded that sucker. I got one of those offices that had the big shredder, and I stole my ethics folders and I shredded them. Yes. I'm like, I mean, that was what I was promised. That's what I'm getting. In the CEO, they don't give you shit. You got to be able to take it for yourself, and that's kind of what you learn. If you're waiting for somebody to give you something there, it ain't gonna happen. If I felt I deserved something and I was promised something and they didn't give it to me, I took it. So that was so funny. Yeah. Make it go right. Yep.
You stole your ethics folder.
Yep. I got into the public communications office. I got into that locked file cabinet. I got my folder out. I went to that big shredding machine and I shredded the crap out of that.
Oh man, I was always trying to follow the rules, So I
always felt that
it came up as a crime or an overt, right?
No, because I didn't consider that. I felt like I would do any job you give me. I'll work as hard as I can, but I'm not there to hurt myself. I'm not there to punish myself or do something weird to myself. If everybody's supposed to eat rice and beans and I'm working hard, I'm not eating rice and beans. I'm going to go figure out how I can sneak some food in, hide it in my ceiling in my office so I could eat something for real,
Yeah. Anytime I'm eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for months, beans and rice, following orders, and he's got all these goodies up in his ceiling tiles.
I would go into this neighborhood that was really nasty. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I would make it go right.
Yeah, he would go where no other Sea Org member would
or Scientologist would ever go. So nobody could recognize him. And then buy a bunch of burgers and stick it up in his
food and stuff. See, this is how come I'm out of the Sea Org, is because I connected up with Matt. So Matt and I met in 1983, but we were married to different people at the time. And then when we were both on the Rehabilitation Project Force together in 1985, you know, we decided to leave.
1985,
No,
2005.
Sorry, it was 1985 that we met.
Yeah, or
No,
83.
1983 that we met. 2005 that we decided to leave together, and then we left together. But see, I don't know if I would have had the courage to say I'm out of here, because I was there since I was a kid, you know. And it was all I knew, and I had nothing. I never went to high school, never saw a day of high school. I didn't know how to drive, didn't have a bank account, had
And I was saying, let's just walk in and say we're leaving, right? And you were like, oh my gosh, how can we do that? You had some other plan, hopefully that they would kick you out, and that didn't work. I said, okay, we'll try your way first, and if that doesn't work, we're walking in there and telling them we're leaving this place, man.
So I tried and it didn't work. So they said, because they were doing fitness boards, and I thought, oh, perfect, because I'll tell them that I don't want to be here. They'll find me unfit, and I'll be able to leave with a program to stay in good standing, because my family was still in Scientology. Instead, they found me fit. So that didn't work. And I said, okay, plan B. And we went and told them we're leaving. We did a whole video on our escape and stuff like that, but they immediately separated us, and for 2 months we were fed only rice and beans. And
I never told you I worked out a deal. I wasn't eating rice and beans.
Yeah, you probably had something stuffed in your
No, what I did was they wanted me to
rice and beans.
No,
I can't believe
I worked the deal.
I've said it 100 times, if not more, that all we ate was rice and beans.
It wasn't the feed.
Are you literally just confessing to me live?
Yeah, they wanted me to renovate all these different apartments.
I'm in shock right now.
I know. They wanted me to renovate all these different apartments at the hacienda for executives, right? And I said, well, if you want me to do that, I'll renovate these apartments for you, but I'm not going to renovate them if you only feed me rice and beans. I said, you give me real food, and I'll give you real apartments. And they said, okay.
Maybe let me in.
I couldn't get the deal for you too, because how it was back then. And
yeah, we were separated, and they wouldn't let us talk. We couldn't even see each other.
Yeah,
like physically, they had us in opposite places.
Yeah.
And when we finally did leave, because he gave them the ultimatum, they didn't tell either one of us, confiscated all of our contact information, and sent us to 2 different sides of the United States.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave and have PIs and people chasing me. I was never going to do it that way. I'm like, well, let's do it up front. If you guys want to catch me, you caught me. Let's do it. What do you want to do? And that's kind of how I took that whole thing on, because I wasn't going to play runaway. I wasn't going to play being chased and hiding and hounded. And
yeah,
it's just like, you want
a lot of people go that route, and it's terrible.
I know. You want to get physical? You want to do that? Let's do it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I told him the only way you're going to stop me is to shoot me in the head, because you don't have any security guard, you don't have any gate, you don't have any fence. I was just done with that place.
This person says Matt had steak and baked potatoes.
I got so sick of that lobster, I'll tell you.
I can't even believe it. I'm not over this yet. We're going to have a conversation after this. What in the heck, honey?
Make it feel right.
Oh, okay. So let's see. Now, what I wanted to do, look at, so many people said where they were from, and I want to actually acknowledge that. And what I'll also do, because it's the first hour now, is we'll do a giveaway as well. And I can do it also for the person that had the comment of the week. But let me acknowledge the people that said they're here from Alberta, Canada, Scotland, Australia, Wisconsin, Dallas, Safety Harbor, Florida, Oregon, Texas, Ireland, and probably a lot of other places. But those are the ones that I saw as I was looking through the chat toward the beginning, and I didn't want to not acknowledge you. Thank you all for being here in all of these different places. It's fun to have you, and it's fun to do lives with Matt too, especially when things get revealed that I had no idea about.
Selena says, I owe you a few great dinners, which is true. We'll have to take care of that.
Yeah, like 2 months. So the comment of the week. So this person always does amazing comments, and I had copied a couple of theirs, but I wanted to read this one. So this is KB Maybe. Matt, you're a great storyteller. Thanks for sharing your experiences in this awful cult. Remember in It's a Wonderful Life that every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings? Every time an experience is shared, a card slips away from Scientology's House of Cards. Keep them coming. We appreciate you both, SBTV and Scobees.
Very nice. Very
Yeah,
nice.
I love that. So, KB, maybe you get a signed book. If you don't already have one, I think you do. But if you want something else, you can let me know. But just write to me, Amy at scobee-publishing.com, and let me know what you would like. Okay. And thank you for that wonderful comment. That hit both of our hearts, because it is a house of cards that's falling apart, and just gradually each story told will raise more awareness and prevent more people from going in, and hopefully people who are lurking on the inside and looking will get out of there, and families will get their families back.
It's working. Scientology is getting smaller and weaker and smaller, and it's coming down, and a lot of things lined up, I can tell you, by SPTV people that is going to blow the doors off. Stay tuned. It's a lot of stuff happening.
It's going to blow the doors off. Yes, they will. Was there any other things that you wanted to cover before we go on to?
Let's take some questions.
Let's take questions.
Let's interact with people.
Okay, good. We're going to interact, you guys. I wasn't all the way down in the questions, so there might be some that I missed, but I'll go to the top. And we're just going to start going through this. Question, Amy, what did Matt think of your new hair color? What's so funny is my hair was so blonde, is already rinsing out. But what did you think, honey?
I liked it, of course. Yeah.
That's what he's supposed to say.
Yep.
This one says, gee, thanks. Everyone had their dinners ruined. Oh, was that talking about the bilges?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that.
With the maggots, yeah. That was a little rough.
Okay, Catherine says, it's so enjoyable to listen. You're like old friends I never met. Yeah, thank you for that. I feel like I want to know all of you, and that it would be really fun to someday meet. Maybe we're going to have a big SP party sometime.
Yeah, it'll have to be.
Doesn't
for sure. Yeah.
Don't you think?
For sure.
We'll probably have some OSA guys there, obviously taking names, but
they get to eat rice and beans if they come.
Oh yeah. That's rice and beans for the OSA people only. It's not just like, I actually like rice and beans, right? Okay. But that's not what it was. It was just like, envision a plate that's just got soupy rice and beans on it. Okay. It's not delicious. And so I had to get creative. I used to put mayonnaise in it and mix it up to make it taste like something. You told me you put ketchup on yours, so you didn't even eat rice and beans.
I'm not saying I never ate rice and beans. I'm just saying there was a hamburger or something with it.
You're in trouble. Okay. The next one says, Tarkina Meyer. Got my Queen Bee shirt for my mom, and my SP Junkie Never In shirt for me. Love the merch. Okay, that's awesome. And also, just so people know, these aren't my reading glasses, so it's hard for me to see. I saw somebody said my lips were piercing or something when I was reading. I have other ones. Where are they? Can you hand me my glasses?
Yeah.
Because let me put these on for reading while I'm reading, so it's not so hard. Okay.
They look nice.
Yeah, people say I look like Magoo with them. No. Okay. So Tarkina, thank you for that. And what I wanted to say is a lot of people have made suggestions of like different things, like different like make a girly never in SPTV junkie type of thing, and I made that, or different colors of different things, and so I've responded to all those. And so you have to, when you go onto the store, there's a button that says view entire merchandise collection or something like that. Click that, because then you'll be able to see everything that's in there, and if there's anything that you like, get it. And if there's anything that you would like me to add, send me an email, because it's fun. Also, if you have any designs that you want to send me to check out, do that, because I'm not the greatest. I mean, I've made these, they're kind of fun, but I'm sure that
Open to ideas.
Yeah, open to ideas.
Yeah.
Okay. You just cut me off. Matt, your episode yesterday was awesome. Thank you. My favorite SP couple. Yay. Glad to see you both. Hope I win something tonight. This is Teddy Bear Scott. I hope you win something too. Yay. This is Karen Hill. I think the way they handled the small kids bothers me the most. Yeah. That's probably the worst of the whole thing. Yeah. Agreed. Cece, did either of you care that there were children locked aboard? I never thought of it in pack. My bad. Locked aboard. You mean on the free ones? I didn't know. I don't know if they had children locked on board on the free ones.
That goes back to when Hubbard was running.
Oh, right. We didn't know that until we left the Sea Org and started hearing horror stories.
Yeah, and that was L. Ron Hubbard locking children in the chain locker for like a day.
Yeah, because
all through the night in this rusty chain locker.
Yeah.
Crying down there.
Yeah.
Like 7-year-olds.
For some stupid little kid thing, that he should not have been punished for. It was terrible. But anyway, I don't know.
We didn't know that at the time. We found a lot of stuff out about Hubbard and that whole thing. I mean, when we first came out, we kind of peeled the onion on Scientology and what was happening in there that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
And then we're almost like hesitant to look at the truth on Hubbard. And then slowly, you confront up and you start looking at that and you find out, oh, the guy was a freaking psycho.
Complete, total psycho.
And everything you've been told about him was a lie.
All the times that we stood and cheered hip hip hooray to a complete psychopath.
Yeah. So we were given false information, lied to. It's information control big time when you get into a cult. And that was one of the things that was happening.
Totally.
Ugh.
Yeah. Don says, when I was in the Sea Org, I had to clean the giant boiler in the boiler room because I talked back to my senior. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Or get a toothbrush and clean a dumpster, these kind of things.
I was assigned to, cleaning toilets with a toothbrush or to dig up and white glove a septic tank. It's just stupid, idiotic things that are supposed to impinge on you and whatever, Yeah. Linda says, question, y'all look so happy together. I married my husband just 3 days after I met him, and we were together 48 years until God took him home. How long have y'all been together? Love you both. 18 years.
Yeah, we got married just a few days after we got out of the Sea Org.
Well, we left the Sea Org on the 1st of March. We found each other and got back together on the 3rd of March. And then on the 13th, we had our wedding because they said we had to wait.
Yeah, we went to took a bus into Seattle
because we didn't have a car or anything.
Yeah, and we went, to get a marriage license, and they said, well, you got to wait, 10 days or something like that. And it turned out to be March 13th would be the first day available for us to be able to get married. We got the yellow pages out. We found some guy that would marry us for like $50 or something. We got a cake from Walmart and Safeway, and we had some friends, her family, just a handful of people.
Yeah.
And we had
my dad's backyard.
Yeah, a little wedding in the backyard, and it was great.
Yeah.
Simple, great.
And it's been 18 years now, a little over 18 years. But we've known each other 40 something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is 8 points of out R factor. Elliot stole so much from the military for BSO, with the exception of logistics. Any insight on that? Well, I don't know what his problem was, man. I mean, part of the thing was because he was running from being found out, like I guess people are looking for him.
He had been in the Navy. So he had a background in that. I don't know. So he was kind of like incorporating that kind of organization and control and punishment, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Well, plus, he would want to see the hideout. Yeah, so many governments were trying to get their hands on him.
He wanted to be in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, where it was international water, it would be harder for them to be snagged up.
Yeah, so he based the whole Sea Org on, he was trying to get a, tight ship and everybody using his sort of ethics.
Plus, if you're on a ship out in the ocean, you're easy to control.
Very. You can't just take off.
You're right.
So Veronica says, in Long Island, New York, if people didn't make fun, they didn't like you.
There you go.
I'm telling you, that's him all the way.
I tell her, like, in New York and Long Island, you learn to, like, throw junk back and forth to each other from a little tiny kid. You know, everybody's a wise ass. You know,
he is such a wise ass. I can't tell him one thing without him saying something back. I can't believe you didn't get in trouble all the time for backslash. Tarkina Meyer, I always giggle when Matt makes Amy crack up. Yeah, he does every day. You have the most infectious laugh, and that is a true gift. Well, thank you, Tarkina. Yeah, thank you. Next, Molinis. That ship is not the Love Boat. That's for sure. It is not the Love Boat.
The word love in the Sea Org. No. I mean, you can be there for 25 years, you'll never hear the word love. That's not part of the.
Except for when people glibly say, you know, oh, I love the spaghetti.
Yeah, something,
but not love. Yeah, yeah.
You'll hear
affinity.
You'll hear about 10,000 curse words a minute, but you won't hear love being used.
Yeah. Okay, so Joni Caldwell, question. All of you are generous and so easily and genuinely care for others. Was the tenderness always inside you? How long did it take for you to let your guard down? That's a good question.
Yeah, I would say it was always in us, but
buried.
You get it buried. You get you're not supposed to be weak in the CEO. You're like, it's really like, that's why you don't say the word love, because then it's looked at as being weak. You're like, the whole atmosphere is to be like tough, and you're not the one that complains, you're not the one that gives up, you're not, so yeah, I mean, you kind of bury it, like,
yeah,
it's I mean, one time I was asked, like, what would you like to handle in your ordering? And I said, because this is coming from the case supervisor, and I said, the ability to cry. Yeah.
And what did you mean about that?
I mean, that my feelings were so blunted that I didn't feel like, no matter what happened, that I could ever cry again, that I could let out emotion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what happens in the Sea Org. You're not supposed to, you get punished severely for showing any human emotion. And in fact, there's a whole issue from L. Ron Hubbard that's called Case on Post. And it says that it's a penalty that's punishable by the Rehabilitation Project Force. And the Rehabilitation Project Force, you can go to for 10 years and never see your family and run everywhere you go. And it's just, boy, they are so, they punish people so much. I did that stupid RPF 4 times. I'm going to do a video on that sometime, but yeah. Anyway, so, but the love and joy that we have now is free. So we like to share it. This one is Trisha that says, what happens if you're colorblind on the color flash system? That's so funny. You wouldn't know what division was sending a dispatch. It's just ridiculous.
And you can wait, so you can be happy about it.
I'm going to complain. Amy, you took the red out of your hair. I didn't mean to. I guess my hair was just so blonde, and so as I wash it, it just is coming out. But don't worry, it'll. My normal color is going to be coming back, really. Okay, the next one. This is from Ann Hummingbird. I need your skills. I have a mystery leak, which is jacking up my water bill. I don't know how to do anything because I was never in a cult. I don't know how to do anything.
Well, if you get a mystery leak, you need to get a plumber over there, because it's probably in the pipe feeding your house.
Yeah, it might not even be.
It's probably underground. Because if it was in your building or in your house, you would see the water. You would see the damage. And so if you're not seeing it and the water is leaking out somewhere, it's probably leaking straight on into the ground. So there's some kind of hole or a break in your pipe. So get a plumber there, and they'll have to find out where it is.
Selena says they make it so hard to think on a daily basis. You can't work out you're in a cult. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Boy, you just like, it's the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, no breather. And so, yeah, your mind doesn't wander a lot besides what you have to do next.
You can literally go years without taking a day off. You got to realize that.
Yeah, I went I think it was, I went 11 years without a vacation and 7 years with no day off.
Yeah. So you're like, just like you said, your nose is to the grind, you know, what they call it, the grind wheel or whatever.
Grindstone.
Grindstone. So you don't have a chance to like step back and look at the whole scene.
Mm-hmm. This was, even if you get a day off, you can't leave until you get a white glove pass on your birthing area. Yeah, some areas. Was that flag? Did you have that problem?
You know, as the years went on, you got less and less rewards, less and less time off. Eventually, a day off was considered, you wouldn't have to be at the morning muster and get a white glove inspection of your apartment on Saturday morning. So that normal time that you would have to clean your room, that was considered your time off because you weren't having to report for the stand in line and be accounted for it. So you weren't getting any time off. You weren't getting any extra time off. They were giving you the time you already had to clean your room, but now they were calling it your day off or whatever. But after lunch, you were on your post just like everybody else. So I mean, that's how crazy it got. I mean, I once said that the only right I wound up having after a while in the Sea Org was the right to work and the right to shut the F up.
Yeah.
That was the two rights.
The only right is shut up and work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Matt's motto with Scientology, it's always worse than you think.
Yep. And it's true.
Yeah. Yep. Marianne Brownell says, when I first bought my place in Dunedin, just north of Clearwater, would pass through downtown and see all the Sea Org members leaving the Fort Harrison, and it was very creepy looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would just, now they're transported in a bus 1 block. You can't walk between the buildings.
Yeah, the staff aren't allowed to walk between the buildings. They either get moved by, the bus, or they get moved by vans between the buildings, and they have the crew dining is now underground under the Superpower building, so they can cross across the tunnel above there or get transported by one of the vehicles and then pop out and rush in the door right up the steps down and to eat. They don't let the Sea Org members be exposed to the
sunlight.
Sunlight, just about.
It's horrible.
Just about.
Okay. Purple Groovy 69. Do they still take money out of everyone's pay for DM's birthday and Christmas present?
Of course.
I mean,
would you stop that if you were him? Of course not. You're getting $250,000 a year, just free cash. So yeah, no, it's not going to stop. The guy's not like going to switch one day and and say, you know what, I kind of feel bad that I'm taking all these poor people's money. No, he probably jacked it up to 35 now. I don't know. He's a sick dude.
Yeah. This one's Joel McCoy. Question: is there anything that you do in Church of Scientology, Cult of Scientology, that you do not get punished for? Seems that you are damned if you do or damned if you don't. What don't you get punished for? If you're giving money.
Yeah, if you're a public person and you're as valuable as you have money, and you're handing it over to the church, and the cult. Once you run out of money, you're like the big star. You run out of money, they don't want to know about you anymore. You're like worthless to them. So yeah, give them money. They love you while you're handing the cash over. Or if you're producing, you keep your mouth closed and you do your job. Yeah, then everybody's you'll be left alone.
Yeah,
generally.
Yeah, generally. Not really, but yeah. So Roxy says, whatever happened to the Universe Corps? I don't know if they still have it, because staff doesn't deserve to go up the bridge.
That thing just faded out. It never really materialized.
Okay, so it did for Celebrity Center because I did it. Right. And I got a huge team for Celebrity Center International when they were expanded to quote unquote St. Hill size. And I awarded them with a Universe Corps, and it was rolling and functioning and getting people
Tell people what it is too.
The Universe Corps, oh yeah, I should say what it is. When an organization is expanded to the size of Old St. Hill, which had really steep statistics, and it's all documented how much, and it's 5.4 times your statistics type of thing. You need to grow to a certain size, and when they do, they're awarded the Universe Corps, which is a team of people. He's been eating a bone this whole time, so
it wasn't just a regular bone. It was the biggest bone I could find.
it was a
It
dinosaur bone.
Yeah, it was about 20 pounds. And
Okay.
he's been on it the whole entire time.
You can see it. It's all over his whole face.
Yeah.
He smells like a bone. Anyway, so you get awarded a team of people that will do nothing but get the staff up the OT levels. And so I created a huge universe core for Celebrity Center International, and they were getting the staff up the bridge. And so they were there when I left. I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if they still have that program going anywhere. Probably not, because you have to have the OT materials outside of an advanced.
I think it died out.
It probably did.
You're
but
probably the last person that did something.
Maybe. Okay, CG Paul SLP. You two have the best stories. I haven't stopped laughing all night. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Yeah, you got to be able to tell the stories and get the humor in some of the stories. Sometimes not as I'm running my big lap, I'm not necessarily laughing. But looking back on it, I did. Okay, so Blow Drill wants to know, but did you have car school, Amy? Oh, that car school thing was John Horowitz. This guy was tasked at writing the check sheet for a car school, and it was huge. It was gigantic. The whole manuals, you had to practically be able to take a car apart and put it back together again before you could even drive. Yeah. And it was never a priority, because you had a long list of things you were supposed to do for your, for your own job, let alone doing car school for your personal. It just never was a priority. So if you didn't have car school done, though, you couldn't drive. So I could never do car school and take a million years to do car school. So I could never drive.
I did car school.
You did car school?
Yeah, back in the early 80s. That was set up because there was a guy named Jack Jones, and he was driving a vehicle and pulled up in front of Elrich's house, and the car was overheating, and Jack was one of these like, ooh, and he didn't like react. He didn't notice the car was overheating, the steam's coming out of it and all this kind of stuff. And Hubbard sees him out there, and he said, oh, forget it. We're not going to let the staff use their vehicles anymore until they do this car school. And that's where the story comes in, where.
Okay, so it was probably something really simple. This is the clutch, this is the brake, this is but now this check sheet was like 70,000 pages.
Yeah, it was a car mechanic before you could pass this.
Ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. So no, I never did car school. Okay, RV, there yet. Did you all have any kind of exit interview? I know that's not how it goes, but exit interview.
We had interrogations on Scientology's lie detector while it's being videoed. I mean, and trying to find out all kinds of information and things that they could use to blackmail you. And then they get you, if you really want to go and not be declared, you're hoping to be able to stay in communication with your Scientology family and friends. They make you sign all these different papers saying all these horrible things you did that you never did, while being videoed, while being stamped, what do they call that? Notarized, that you're like a confessed psychopath. And so now
they write these things in your name and get you to sign it, because you can't walk out the door unless you do. Yeah, so you're trying to not get declared, so you go along and do this stupid thing, and at the end they declare you anyway. So it's all they already had the declare issue ready. Yeah. So anyway, it's part of I wish I didn't cooperate with all that crap and we just walked out the door. I know. Well, we were trying to not get declared so we can stay in communication with our families, but that never worked out, because they don't do what they promise. Anyone that's under the radar, that's looking and lurking, just walk out. Don't follow any other things. Don't sign any other things. Yeah. Rip them up and just walk out. Yeah. Don't do it. You're going to regret not doing it. Yeah, just get out of there. Get out of there. Okay, so Joni Cummings says, you two can make me laugh and cry because your stories are funny and sad, not at the same time. I know. Yes. Thank you for that comment. Yeah. I don't know if I just accidentally got rid of somebody's one, because okay, so this is Nancy Ives. You two bring me so much joy. Your laughter is everything. Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad. Michelle R., did you have to disconnect with anyone while still in the Sea Org and later reconnect when you got out? Did you? I'm eating the
Yeah.
bones.
I don't remember having to disconnect inside there like that. Because you don't have the
Well,
opportunity to I don't know.
well, my mom blew at one point,
Yeah.
and I was told that I needed to disconnect from her. She wasn't declared. She had blown. She was working in Clearwater, and I was at the int base in Hemet, and I was told that I needed to disconnect from her because she blew, and I wrote her a disconnection letter
You know.
like a stupid robot. But anyway, then she, somehow protested that. And I said, yeah, that's BS because you don't have a declare. And, she was trying to get her status solved and stuff like that. But so that was when we were in. But then obviously when we left and we were not in good standing, people in our families, both of our families that were Scientologists had to disconnect from us.
Yeah.
He still has a brother and a sister-in-law and nephew that are still in Scientology, and disconnected, and they're not in touch with anyone in the family, and they didn't even speak to their own parents who were never in Scientology, even after until they passed.
And when they were sick.
When they were sick. Yeah.
Yep. Pretty disgusting.
He's going to regret that later.
Yeah.
I mean, right now his heart is like stone, but anyway.
Just caught in that trap.
Yeah. Joni Cummings, Matt, your episode yesterday was awesome. Queen Bee, Amy, thank you for letting Matt share his stories. I'm letting him use my channel. Both of you are so talented. Yes, I said, you know what? You're not going to sit at my desk. So I set him up over at his desk, and I said, okay, so just push record, and then don't worry about anything. I can edit it and stuff like that. And so just, work out what you want to say and do it. And then he did such a great job. I'm very proud of you.
I got almost prepared. It's all about the finances. Like, how do the money lines work? Like, exactly how do those money lines work to make that $2 million a week? And also, I'm going to show where the money goes. What happens to that $2 million after it comes in? So I got a lot of information on that I'm going to share that wouldn't be available any place else probably.
Yeah, but you've got so much inside information from the different positions that you held.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Okay, the next one is from Beachy Terra. Seems to me that Matt and Tom V are the only tough guys that stood up and told COS to F off. I'm leaving. Bravo. You both seem to so happy. Tom V?
DeVock. That's what they're talking about.
Oh, Tom DeVock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did the same thing.
He did. He
just walked out of there. He just said, just walked through the gate and kept on walking down the road. Didn't let anybody stop him. Yeah, well done for Tom.
I think they shut the gate on him or something like that. And he went over it.
He was done, and he just said, I'm out of here.
And I mean, when you're at the int base, you're miles from anywhere. And so, like Mark Headley, when he took off on his bike, they ran him off the road because it's just crazy. And but Tom just walked. That's all he had, just whatever was in his pocket. He was just walking. And then with us, he lived with us for a little while, and he's doing a job that we got him, that we used to do, and he's been doing that for many years now. Yeah. He's doing well. Okay. PA girl 913, Linda. I'd really love to see Goldie get a buy me a cup of coffee site. Help me convince her. Love you, Amy, Matt, and Goldie. Goldie, come on now. Get a buy me a coffee site.
Yeah, it's so hard. You do so much stuff.
Yes, and you're so appreciated.
Yes.
Thank you for that, Linda. This one is Mango Puppy Kisses. Yes, they brought the bone in right here onto the fence thing that's making a whole bunch of noise, but that's okay. Yes. Okay, so those were all of the comments, and I don't know if I accidentally deleted anything or if there's any other questions. Like that, those were the starred ones. But anyway, look at all these wonderful comments. Yeah, this person says, was never in Scientology, but this one says, I was never in Scientology, but my foster home felt like it, and spent time in a children's home as a teenager was like a prison. So I feel for you. Yeah. The part of the thing is, like, us telling these stories is well, stories. They're factual life accounts, really. Um, Scientology likes to say, see, they're just telling a story. Well, yeah, the stories of our life and factual accounts is that hopefully it helps people who have, similar situations in their life, abuse, narcissistic people, any sort of like that kind of entrapment and that type of thing, to get the courage to speak out about it, leave, break away from the entrapment. That's what we're hoping, because we survived it. And yes, there were like all kinds of fair game and all that kind of stuff from Scientology. Um, but it's worth it because it's helping people. And so we will take whatever bullets and have for 18 years in order to get the word out. And so
we're winning. Scientology is
yes.
going down. The SPs are going up. And that's what's happening. And we will win at the end. And Scientology there will be justice.
Yes. So at this time, I'd like to do a book giveaway. So anyone in the comments, if you say, book me, book me, book me, I will pick one of you, and you will get a free signed paperback book by Matt Pesch and Amy Scobee. So say book me, guys, and we'll do a countdown. I see the first book me is coming. Somebody said that they wanted a book today. I don't remember who it was, but put your name in there. Put your name in there. Okay. Listen to those guys behind us. I feel like I need to move their bone.
Yeah, that's all right.
Book me, book me, book me. Okay, so I'm going to count to 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It didn't go. Where is it? 1 second. Sorry, everyone, hang on. Did it go on there? Love Sherlock.
Do 2 of them. Do Selena too.
Why?
I don't know. I just caught my eye before.
Selena, you caught Matt's eye, and so therefore you're getting it too. And Love Sherlock, I picked you, so you get a book too. So you guys just send me an email, amy@scobee-publishing.com, and tell me your contact information so that I can mail out a book. If you want a specific note written inside, then we'll do that. So Selena, Michelle, and Love Sherlock, congratulations. Okay, everyone. Well, that was a fun night. You got some information.
That was great.
Yeah. And so it should be Wednesday next week with Claire, unless I'm doing something very suppressive or she is. But we'll keep coming to you. We'll keep the stories coming. We'll keep the information flowing.
Yep.
And there's really great things in the works too.
Yeah, big time.
To order a copy of my book, go to my website, which is scobee-publishing.com. And
tell them not to confuse it with the fake ones that Scientology
don't worry about it.
Okay.
That's why I give it.
All right.
To order my book, go to Scobee.
I just got slapped down. Okay. I'll take a lap.
Well, you're going to be taking a lap because of the food thing.
Okay.
You're going to only eat rice and beans for 2 months. Go to Walmart and get a bunch of rice and beans because that's what you're eating. No, like order it at my website. And also, it's also on my store, which is amy-scobee-shop.fourthwall.com. I've got my book there. I've got a digital copy of my book as well as on my website and a bunch of merchandise. Just check it out. And here's Matt's motto: with Scientology, it's always worse than you think. So that's all wonderful. And it was really fun to be with you all. And, we'll see you next week, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to go over here and say bye.
Bye-bye.